Have you ever wondered how many layoffs there's been so far in 2024 and how many people have actually lost their jobs? Because every single month we get the unemployment figures, we get the new jobs figures, but one thing that we don't get is we just don't get how many layoffs there exactly have been. There's different websites you can go and check out, like layoffs.fyi and places like that will show all the tech layoffs for the year and stuff like that, but there's no comprehensive source to see how many people are actually losing their jobs, because it's probably a lot more than we realize right now. And I have a bunch of stories here I want to go over about some layoffs, but before that, I want to jump into basically this big warning sign that Walmart and Home Depot is giving the economy right now, because everybody knows Walmart and Home Depot. Everybody has shopped at one of those stores at some point in their lives. And when those retailers are showing some signs of weakness, you know that things are off in the economy right now. So first, let's start off with Home Depot, because Home Depot was doing pretty great. During the pandemic, they had a lot of people coming in there buying all kinds of stuff to remodel their houses and make home improvement projects because everyone was stuck at home. People were getting stimmy checks, which is extra money to go out and spend that they really didn't have. So businesses like Home Depot benefited from this situation tremendously. And another thing that helped places like Home Depot wasn't just the stimulus checks and everybody on lockdown, but also it was the low interest rates, guys. You have to think about this. When people do these big projects with their homes, a lot of times they will use debt. They will use debt to finance part of the project with a home equity loan or a home equity line of credit, things like that. And when interest rates fell to near zero for a while there, it made it very easy to finance all this stuff. Home Depot was doing so well that they decided to expand into distribution centers that they would open up across the US. These are basically for home improvement professionals, like, you know, the guys you will hire to come and remodel your house and stuff like that, so they can go and pick up supplies there. And one of the recent acquisitions they made was SRS Distribution in McKinney, Texas for $18.25 billion, which provides goods and materials for home improvement contractors like landscaping tools, roofing supplies, lumber, pool materials, all those things. But here's the problem. This week, Home Depot had its earnings report come out for the first quarter, and it was a miss. Not by a lot, but it was expected to be $36.64 billion, came in at $36.42 billion, and U.S. comparable store sales fell 3.2% year over year. Right away, management at Home Depot was blaming high interest rates on this because they're saying that this is reducing the consumer's ability to come in and spend money at Home Depot, because once again, that proves what I just said, that people finance a lot of this stuff. Even if it's on the Home Depot credit card or whatever, you still have to pay interest on that if you're not paying off the balance in full. So if you are using any form of debt to finance a home improvement project that you can't pay off in cash immediately, this will affect someone like that's decision to go ahead and move forward with stuff right now with interest rates where they're at. And check out what the CFO of Home Depot said. Richard McPhail, he says, well, interest rates they're coming down soon. That's what he said. And he says, our customers tell us with that in mind, we're just going to wait. And so that's really the most important dynamic from an income perspective. So even Home Depot now is starting to feel the lag effects of the interest rates making its way through the economy. And this is something I kind of talked about in a video earlier this week, is that we are finally starting to see the lag effect start to work in different sectors of the economy. You know, a business that was once booming during the pandemic is now starting to show signs of weakness because people don't want to take on that higher interest rate debt to finance these projects anymore. But it's not just people not wanting to take on debt. A lot of people just flat out can't afford to do any of these projects anymore because inflation has pushed the cost of everything through the roof, and a lot of people are just trying to hunker down and keep their budget in line with reality right now and not even thinking about taking on another big project, especially if it's unnecessary. And they even admit right here that, you know, people can't afford this because they can't pay these rates, okay? They say that, you know, if you're buying a house and there's all these projects you need to do, generally we see people finance that, and as rates tick up, the impact of the rates ticking up is impacting the demand. Well, that's the idea. I still think rates are not high enough because it's not squashing the demand enough. But I'm sure people at Home Depot and these other businesses would disagree with me because they always want to see their earnings go up. The Home Depot CEO says, we're still optimistic about the summer projects that are coming up, because this is when we see a lot of people, take on household projects when the kids are out of school and all this stuff. So their outlook is still positive that things are going to look good over the next couple of quarters. So we'll see with Home Depot. Walmart, on the other hand, they have a different set of problems, okay? Their earnings report came out strong because you have a lot of people that have money who are starting to shop at Walmart in search of a better deal. Because as inflation hits everyone's budget, even rich people's budget, they want to get a deal as well. So you're starting to see more high-income earning households shopping at Walmart, which is helping to boost their earnings. But at the same time, even though Walmart's earnings are going up, they're shutting down stores, guys. They still have pockets across the country where theft and crime is really bad, and they're still closing these stores down despite having their earnings doing well. And to me, when you hear that theft and crime is so bad that a Walmart needs to close down, that's also a telltale sign, at least it is to me, that things are not nearly as good as we're being told, because why would these people need to resort to theft and crime if things were great? They would be able to just get a good job and work for a living like everybody else and pay their own way. But usually people tend to resort to crime when there's nothing else to resort to, which means the economy where they live is not very good. So right now they have plans to close about 8 different stores, and they also issued layoff notices in stores across the country, all the way from California to Maryland. So we're starting to get into the layoff set of things here too, which I'm going to go over in this video, because there's been so many layoffs in 2024. So many that we can't even count or talk about in this one video, but I will go over some of the recent ones. So they're looking at closing 4 stores in California, also 1 in Wisconsin. They're also closing 1 in Maryland and 1 in Ohio. Okay, always the reason for this is always the same. They go, the stores were not meeting financial performance expectations. So that always just means that theft is too high and we can't afford to keep this store in business, because you never really go to a Walmart that's empty. At least I've never seen one. Anywhere I've been in the country, guys, you go to a Walmart, it's like going to Costco. It's always busy, okay? So for a store to be underperforming with Walmart can just mean one thing, and that is they are losing too much merchandise to shrink or theft. Same thing. So they're saying about 1,050 employees will be impacted by the closures of these stores. Some of these Walmart workers are going to be eligible to transfer to another location if they wish. So it's like, well, that might be great if they have an opportunity to keep their job, but think about it, the next nearest Walmart might be 20 or 30 miles away. So that could be a huge commute, and throw in the price of gas today, that might not be an economical shift for somebody who's currently working at one of these stores that's closing. And it's funny too, because they say all this, not a big deal for the customers, because they say, well, we look forward to continuing to serve all of our customers at any of our many locations across the area. And through delivery to their home or business. Well, tell that to somebody that has one of these Walmarts closed down and now has to drive an additional half an hour to go to the next nearest Walmart, guys, and pay the extra gas and all of that stuff, and extra traffic, extra time of your life wasted doing this. But they are putting their earnings to good use, because they plan to remodel about 650 stores across the country in the next year or so, which they say was also going to create tens of thousands of jobs within those communities, because they're going to need help to remodel those stores. Walmart's also cracking down on their remote workers as well, because they gave a bunch of their employees the permission to work remotely during the pandemic, but it was only temporary. So now one thing that they want to do is they want to relocate a lot of these people who are working remotely in places like Atlanta and Dallas and Toronto. They want to bring them over to their central location near their headquarters in Arkansas, as well as New Jersey and Northern California. So it's either basically you move or you lose your job. But this story with Walmart is nothing compared to some of these other stores, guys, okay? You have a major retailer like Rue 21. they filed for bankruptcy in May, and they're shutting down all 540 stores across the country. So we don't know how many people are losing jobs from this because they don't tell us. They tell us how many stores are closing, and you can probably reasonably estimate that maybe 10 people work at each one of those stores. So you're talking maybe 5,500 people losing their jobs from this. Okay, that is a big deal. You also have a major clothing brand that's in a lot of the malls you see, Express. They also filed for bankruptcy, and they're closing 95 of their stores across the country. So they're not closing all of them, but they're closing a good chunk of them. So that's more job losses right there. Another big one that I talked about before, which happened about a month ago, was the 99-cent store over in California. They literally closed all 371 of their stores in the southwestern region of the country. Now they're looking at liquidation, guys, and there's no mention in any of these stories about how many people are actually being impacted by this, how many people are actually losing their jobs. They always just talk about the stores that are closing and never any mention of how many people are getting laid off from this or where are they going, you know? And a lot of times these people are not reflected in the unemployment data, which is still, you know, very low at 3.9%, because maybe they pick up another part-time job really quick, or they don't even need to get a job. They can just start delivering food on Uber Eats or, you know, DoorDash or something like that the very next day, and they don't get counted as unemployed, but they are underemployed and they're not making enough money to survive in this economy in that situation. Even Amazon, you know, the retail giant that's basically like the online Walmart, they just announced a new round of layoffs, and they've been laying people off all year. They just announced another 100 people that they're gonna lay off, and it's gonna be in their customer service team. But you know, in January, they laid off people in their Prime Video division. In February, it laid off people in the Amazon Health Services division. And at the end of April, they announced they were laying off 9,000 people. That is crazy. Amazon estimates that they are gonna lay off about 27,000 people this year, actually, guys. So once again, if things were so great, why is Amazon laying off that many people? But this is what the statement from Amazon says. They said, adding all these people made sense when business was happening and the economy was doing great. But however, given the uncertain economy in which we reside and the uncertainty that exists in the near future, we have chosen to be streamlined in our costs and headcount. So remember, Amazon is a publicly traded company, and their loyalty is to their shareholders. So the number one person they want to please are their investors. So they're like, let's just get ahead of this. Things aren't going so great right now. Let's just get rid of these 27,000 people, keep our earnings reports doing well, and keep our share prices on the rise. That's how corporations do it. In fact, whenever they lay people off, that usually sends their stock price up. I mean, their stock price is up more than 22% since the beginning of this year, which is near a record high, and it's all because of all these layoffs, guys. So that's the funny thing, you know. This kind of wasn't part of what I wanted to talk about, but it just made me think of this, and that is, you know, people say, oh, look at the stock market, it's doing great. Look at the housing market, it's still really high, right? But those things are doing great still because of all the casualties that have to suffer and to sacrifice to get it there. And the stock prices are the main thing we're talking about here. Like Amazon stock price is up 22% year over year, right? Well, it wouldn't be if they didn't lay off almost 30,000 people, okay? So those people are casualties of that stock price soaring 22%. But say if Amazon decided to try to keep as many employees as possible, if they were actually loyal to their workers rather than their shareholders, all those people would still have a job, but their earnings report wouldn't be doing so well. So it brings up this interesting situation where things look like they're going really well, but in reality, there's all these people losing their jobs behind the scenes, but all we keep getting told about, especially in the news and by, you know, the people in government, is just look at the stock market. Look at how great things are going. You know, S&P 500 is at all-time highs, Amazon's at all-time highs, all this stuff is booming. But how many people had to be on the chopping block to get it there? No one talks about that. You know, we talked the other day about hospitals that are going bankrupt and are closing down, and hospitals are also laying people off because of this. You have UPMC, which is a hospital system. This is what the vice president has to say about this. The healthcare system continues to face the realities of an ever-evolving post-pandemic marketplace, and as a response to the ongoing challenges, limited reductions are occurring. So, it's always like these little hidden words and clues and stuff to make it sound like it's not as bad as it really is, but it's just another way of saying things aren't going great, so we're firing people.
Here we have a house that's been for sale for quite some time that's finally pending. They were asking $1.3 million, but they bought this house back in 2022 for $1.1 million, okay? And then they tried flipping this house as early as the same year that they bought it for $1.7 million. Even in 2023, they had it listed for almost $1.9 million, guys. Now they're going to be lucky to sell this house for close to what they already paid for it. And here's the problem. Their property tax bill is already over $21,000 a year. But also, you can see here, this person took out a mortgage at the end of 2022 for $1.35 million at a 7% interest rate. So this is officially underwater, okay? This house is underwater, which means they owe more on this house than it's actually worth. And this person selling it is going to lose money at the closing table. This is the exact scenario I warned people against from paying too much for houses. This is what happens when you lose.
You have another story out of the Bay Area in Walnut Creek where you have a gas station that has over 337 workers that they're laying off. I always wondered this, like, how do gas stations go out of business, guys? Everybody needs to buy gas. It's always weird when you see a gas station that just goes under and you have this abandoned gas station. Like, the only thing I could even imagine is that they're not in the greatest location, or they always consistently charge too much for gas and people choose to go somewhere else. So they're getting rid of all their employees by June 26, which is right around the corner. Google, they just announced another round of layoffs. Like, you see, if you're noticing the pattern here, it's a lot of big successful companies that are always in the news about how well they're doing, but they're the ones who are actually firing the most people. So back to the point I made earlier, the reason that they're doing so good is because they're firing people. So this time, Google is getting rid of various people in their development teams. It's going to be at least 50 people, so not the biggest round of layoffs that they've done so far, but it's just more people losing their jobs. And these are high income earners. This isn't somebody working at Starbucks making, $500 a week, guys. This is somebody who's probably making $200K a year losing their job. What does their spokesperson say about this? As we've said, we're responsibly investing in our company's biggest priorities and the significant opportunities ahead. The best position for these opportunities throughout the second half of 2023 and into 2024, a number of our teams made changes to become more efficient and work better, remove layers and align their resources to their biggest product priorities. So just another way of saying our priority is to increase our share price. It's like every time you hear one of these spokesperson talk about this, it's like they work at the Fed or something. It's always all this mumbo jumbo that really doesn't make any sense. It's just all a polite way and confusing way of saying you're fired. You have Rivian, the electric car company. They're also laying off people. It's only 28 jobs, so it's not a ton of people, but another reflection that the electric car industry isn't doing so hot like we keep being told that it is. And the other thing you have to think about is, with all these layoffs happening, isn't that a sign that we're probably headed straight into this recession if you don't already believe that we're in one? Because this is something you typically see when things are not good, not when things are good like they keep saying it is. Basically, what all this tells us is the labor market is not as strong as we keep being told. The unemployment figures, like I said earlier, don't reflect how many people are just, scraping by on stuff that's not really a job, like doing these gig works, driving for Uber or whatever, because you can do that the next day after getting fired, so you might not have to apply for unemployment. And that makes more sense, right? Why deal with unemployment and provide all the stuff that they constantly ask you for to be on unemployment when you can just start working tomorrow and start making money right away? So that seems to make a lot more sense. In fact, in 2023, guys, just in the tech sector alone, there was 191,000 job losses, okay? That doesn't include any other sectors of the economy. We're not talking healthcare, we're not talking manufacturing, retail, anything, just tech. So, you know, you could probably say there was millions of jobs lost last year. And then all year, they kept bragging about how good all the jobs numbers were coming out at, and they all kept getting revised down substantially, you know, later down the road. We're talking like half or, you know, 60% or 70% of what was originally quoted as the actual jobs gained. All these things that we're seeing happen, like this robust stock market and everything, is based on those news stories, you know, based on, oh, the unemployment's still low, based on, oh, the jobs numbers are still coming out really strong, but in fact it's not true. And it's interesting because one narrative we kept hearing for a while there is that businesses don't want to lay people off because it was so hard to get people back to work during the pandemic when people were getting paid to stay at home, that the last thing they want to do is let people go again. But we're seeing it happen in real time now. And the funny thing is too, is this all influences what the Fed decides to do next. You know, if the labor market appears to be strong with all of the figures that keep coming out, this is just going to delay how long it takes for the Fed to cut rates, which seems to be something basically everybody wants. If you shop at Home Depot, you want to renovate your kitchen, if you invest in the stock market, whatever, if you're a business looking to borrow money, everybody wants those low rates back. People can't wait for that to happen. But ironically enough, because things are going so well, we're not going to see those rate cuts anytime soon. And we'll talk more about that in the next video with the latest CPI reading and all of that stuff. So one thing I just want to say, guys, is thank you to each and every one of my over 200,000 subscribers now. You know, it took me 4 years on this channel to get my first 100,000 subscribers, which was an amazing achievement. And no, it only took me 8 months beyond that to get an additional 100,000 subscribers up to 200,000. So clearly you guys are really enjoying this content. I'm really enjoying making it for you. I really love doing this. I really love providing this type of value for you guys as much as I can. And I look forward to just making hundreds and hundreds of more videos for you. And I just look at it as a reflection of how much you guys are enjoying the content. And just so you know, I'm extremely appreciative for every single one of you who watch and comment and have subscribed. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.